if I'm a service-based business, like what are first principles that I can apply to my business to first create a premium perception, as you said, and second, attract higher quality clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you're a premium business, first understand what makes you a premium business.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be premium, and they say we're premium, and they try to copy the market leaders, and that's usually a mistake.
Okay.
What you should do is really own your difference. What is it that makes you different from everyone else? Is it something that you specialize in?
Yeah.
For instance, we worked on branding this law firm out in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they looked like every other typical law firm,
Right.
like they portrayed themselves with the big ivory tower, the leather bookshelves,
Yes.
the
Like
the
the
hammer, the
pillars.
gallon. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And they look like everyone else. And it's only after we started talking to them, going through the discovery process and asking them all the right questions. They're like, we asked them, what is it that makes you really different from everyone else? How do you guys stand out? Like, what is it that you guys can own?
Yeah.
And that's when the founder basically told me, you know what? We're really good at winning class action lawsuits.
Class action lawsuits. Okay, yeah.
And we're like, done. Go all in on class action lawsuits.
Right.
Forget, you can say you can do criminal law, you can do corporate law, all of that stuff.
Right.
But class action lawsuits is what's going to get your bread and butter. Let's go all in on that. And so then we basically did their whole strategy. We realized that they were a rebel brand. They were not like, high and mighty kind of thing. They were the kind of brand that would go after, they were like a small law firm,
right?
But they're the kind of brand that would go after Goliaths, like big insurance companies. They would take Walt Disney to court.
Wow.
So it was like, wow, these guys are badass.
Yeah.
So we needed to create a brand that was, pretty badass. So like we branded them. Yeah. They came out with this. Initially they were all like, beige and greens and grays. But when we create something that's really bold and rebellious, we had like orange and black and, really bold typefaces. And their website had that really bold perception, even the way they talked.
Yeah.
Like we would go after, we don't take cases to settle. We take cases to win. That kind of personality. And that's what commands attention. I come from a graphic design background, right? It's like I was formally trained in design.
Right.
And then I went on to become an animator. I became really good with using like video editing tools.
Gotcha.
Did visual effects. And then after that, I went on to going into advertising. And that's where I started learning about branding and all the storytelling aspects. So that's my beginning. Right? Everyone starts in a different way.
Right.
But I think what really changed for me was when I started establishing my own personal brand, especially on social media. And that happened while I was working like a full 9-to-5 job. I was an art director at an ad agency, then became a creative director. But as I was, getting up the ranks in the corporate world, I was also putting out these Instagram, TikTok content. And just sharing, the work I do, the way I perceive certain brands, hot takes, and then, being almost like a voice in the kind of industry. It's, of course, it's just me talking to camera, right?
Being a thought leader.
Right. So I think people generally, when they start out, they try to target everyone. And that's always a mistake. We did it. When we started out, we try to be all things to all people. And but then you realize that's kind of, you're kind of competing then on price. You don't really know who your audience is. So, you're basically offering everything. We can do logo design. We can do websites. We can do animation. We can do social media. We can do everything. But then when we started really drilling in on who are our customers, who are our ideal customers, they were bold visionaries. So we really had a strong idea of who our target audience was. These were people who wanted to do something different and they were willing to pay a premium. So that's what clicked. That's when the penny dropped.
How did you get your first few clients? Do you remember? Do you recall what that journey was like?
It was all on social media. It was by posting on Instagram.
Oh.
We were doing carousels. We didn't do much videos, but it was a lot of carousel content that just gave value for free. You know, where we were just providing, we would ask a question. Sometimes maybe it was a question that people are probably think was kind of silly to ask.
Oh, okay.
But we would answer it.
Yeah,
you know, because believe it or not, there are people who want to know.
So you ask the question and then you answer it.
And answer it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
So like, how do you do this? Well, how to design a luxury brand.
Yeah.
How to design, how to choose the right color palettes for something like that.
Yeah.
And it was basically ask the question, and your content was all about educating them and coming to a solution.
So you got your first customers just by posting on social media, asking questions and answering them.
Yeah.
I think that's a very great principle to take away, because some people are overthinking. It's like, I have to set a launch date and like in 3 months, I'm going to now release like, hey, but you're saying no, like every day, question, answer.
Yeah.
And you just, I guess, got them through the emails afterwards or
they
through
were
the DMs.
Yeah.
And you close them through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was mostly get them on the DMs, and then let's book like a 15-minute quick Zoom call.
Yeah. Like a fit check.
See, is this what you're looking for?
Right.
Like, you know, why do you need a premium brand? Funny thing is, a lot of our customers are not necessarily in Canada. Majority of them are in the Middle East.
Middle East.
Yeah. The Dubai police happens to be one of our clients.
Wow.
Their forensic department. We are working with a lot of luxury brands, fashion brands out in the Middle East. We're working with private equity firms in Europe. And they all basically got through my content on either Instagram or TikTok. It was crazy hours.
I can't imagine.
It was crazy hours. And, you know, we would like, family life was like, it was second. Work was always the first priority. And, you know, our kids started getting a little distant from us. So we said, you know what, we want to put family first. So that's when we basically said, all right, we're going to work from home. We're going to take the kids to school ourselves. We're going to spend more family time together.
Right.
And then, of course, when COVID happened, we spent a lot of family time together.
It's like, I asked for something. I was like, God, you guys are way too much.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Was it difficult to do business at home with the kids?
It was slightly difficult, yeah. I mean, luckily we have, I operate out of my basement, and my wife, Mary, she operates from our bedroom. And, you know, the kids, they have their own rooms. They're free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They're big corporations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who worked in those places were being let go, especially senior staff. These are people who've been, you know, working there for like so long.
Yeah.
You know, they've been paid, you know, good money.
Yeah.
And then when COVID came, people like these companies started slashing.
I guess try to cut down the cost.
Yeah. Go really lean.
Right.
So you have all these people who have great thought leadership, you know, who's been working in the corporate world, and now they've been made redundant. And so what do? You know? And that's when we started helping such consultants, you know, kind of building their personal brand and helping their expertise.
Yeah.
You know, they could be someone who's been working in food service. There could be someone who's probably a tax accountant. You know, all these people, they wanted to establish a certain personal brand.
Wow.
And so use social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, to really kind of sell their expertise. So that became our client base then.
So you started to, I guess the clients that were starting to approach you, you're starting to realize like, hey, like, oh, you got let go, and now you want to build your personal brand because things are moving. Yeah. I guess the times are now different.
Right. They're not paying for your time. They're paying for clarity. You know, they're paying for transformation. That's what they want. And I think that's what a lot of consultants, they, you know, it's like, oh, okay, this is going to cost me about, it's going to put like, I have to spend about 32 hours. It's going to cost me, my day rate is going to be this, that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're not paying, you know, for, no one pays for a hammer. That's what I always ask. I say, no one pays for a hammer.
Okay.
What they want is a nail to be put on a wall so that they can hang a painting, and everyone who comes to their house can view that painting and be like, wow, love it. That's the end result.
The end result of the painting
on the wall.
On the wall.
Not the hammer.
Not the hammer.
So you got to understand, what is it that people want from a branding agency, right? They want to people necessarily don't want a logo. They want to be perceived as a premium brand. They don't want just a simple website. They want a website that converts. They don't just want social media. They want to be established as a trusted authority. So what are they paying for, really? They're not paying for your time. They're paying for clarity. They're paying for transformation. So that's what you need to promise them, right? And then if people ask, but so what is my ROI when it comes to branding?
That's one of the, I think the pinnacle question. What's my
return? What's my return on investment?
On this working with the greatest consultant?
I was like, what is that? Well, you're paying $20,000. So if you're not getting 10x return out of that, you better be making about like 200,000, by the end of the year. Your brand better be worth that much. You should be making that much money. If you don't, then don't invest. If you don't see yourself making $200,000 your business at the end of the first year, then don't invest the $20,000. If you're gonna invest $50,000, you better be making $500,000. So that's like the rule of thumb. It's called 10x. You need to 10x your investment.
10x ROI. Okay. Do you find that the strategies that you used in terms of posting, is it still continuously working for you? Has anything changed in the social media, especially with AI as well?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm doing right now, I'm putting out a lot more video reels, but I'm still following the same kind of format. I ask a question and then I answer it. I post case studies of work we've done and showing the results. The before and the after. So that hasn't changed. With regards to AI, what I have done is I've created an AI avatar of me. Just because in the beginning parts, when you're like, how to build a premium brand, how to do this, you'll notice that it's all consistent. It's me, but it's an AI avatar.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I thought it was you the whole time.
It's an AI avatar, but it's my voice. And I record my voice, and it's like basically like almost like a PowerPoint slide, right? But that whole consistency of me appearing, in the same kind of clothes, same hair, same glasses and stuff. It's something that I just use like say Hey Jen, and then create that avatar of me. So that way, like I don't have to get ready in front of camera every single time. I can post, and I do all the content myself.
Right.
I create the content, I video edit it, whatever, and in about 3-4 hours, it's a content's ready to go.
Wow. So could you maybe shine some light on your stages of creating content? So you mentioned let's go with the latest trends. I think that's what I really enjoyed. So then, do you sit down on a computer, open up a document of what those trends are, and then you sort of like, how does that whole process look like for you?
First, there's a discovery phase where I had to go out and see what are some of the trends. So I go on to Dieline, different websites that talk about packaging and so on. I look for consistencies. Okay, so this seems to be something that seems to be popping up. And of course, those are my own personal point of views. It's and people, whether you can agree with it, you can disagree with it, but that's my point of view.
That's what you're seeing.
So and then I put it together. So a lot of my ideation phase actually happens on a Word doc.
Document.
On a Word doc. Basically, like, okay, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing a lot of, very glowy designs or, a lot of gallery frames, or is it, go back to your roots kind of designs, kind of thing like that. Okay, so then I kind of make a list of them. Let's, instead of 10, let's make it 8. And then after that, I pick out examples of what some of these packagings look like from, going on to Dieline or any other blogs, Pinterest. And then I put it together. And my Instagram Reels pretty much reads like a PowerPoint, it's like, it's just slide after slide after slide, but me talking, in the background. It's a pretty simple format. My content falls into different pillars, if you will. One is case studies, which is basically showing what we've done for clients. That's like, whether, and that's probably my favorite because this is where we get to show the whole process from beginning to end. And I think when people see branding, they only see the final finished product. For me, it's almost like very almost therapeutic, cathartic kind of way to
what
show.
makes you excited about?
Because we get to show all the different stages that something went through to get to the final thing.
Yeah.
What we started off with a mood board, then the first designs look very different than how it finally ended up. And for me, that is the design process. Like right now, we're starting to build. Like we're working with bigger clients who have bigger budgets. Like we're working with Angostura, which is they create bitters, but they also create like premium rum beverages, and and they're based out in Trinidad. But they want to work with a premium agency like us because they want to create premium brands and so on and so forth. And they have so many different brands that they work in. We're working with the Dubai Police Forensics Department. They have like 11 sub brands within the forensic department.
Wow.
And each one needs its own personal brand, like its own brand. So, and obviously they're the Dubai Police. They are the ones who are, their cops drive Lamborghinis and Bugattis, right? So it's like, obviously you need something that is premium looking, right? I think now we're slowly starting to work with bigger clients who are more global. We're working with fashion houses that have a very different kind of design aesthetic than anything that we've seen before. We're working with jewelry houses that are coming from a place of culture and heritage, like in Iraq. They love the whole ancient Mesopotamian culture, and we're integrating that into a high luxury brand. So it's great. Like it's really fun, and I love this kind of cultural storytelling and digging into heritage. And I totally geek out.
That's the gem.
That stuff.
I can see it in your eyes are turning into a gem.
I totally geek out over that kind of stuff. The luxury brands, they never compete on price. They never chase volume. Luxury brand, like for instance, a $20,000 Rolex, people don't buy that to tell the time. They are trying to send out a signal to the world. It's about status.
Yes.
So you have to, and they will keep increasing their prices year after year.
Yeah.
I can give you an example of a luxury brand that we're currently working with. One of the things they have going for them is that they have a legacy. So they have a history. So this is a third generation jeweler. So his grandfather started the whole, what comes from a family of jewelers, right? Yeah. So, and they are based in Iraq, which is ancient Babylon. So there's a certain history to that.
Right.
The cuneiform writing, which is one of the earliest writings known to man. Yes. That is like, basically sculpted during the time of the Assyrian, Nebuchadnezzar or whatever.
Right.
They're leaning into that kind of, that history. So I always tell them, like, what is your brand story, first of all, you know? You can start at a certain point.
Yeah.
After that, you need to raise your prices. You need to raise your prices. You need to have that kind of confidence. Luxury brands, if you're going to do, buy one, get one off, you're not a luxury brand.
Denny, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this conversation is so fruitful. I think there's a lot of principles that people can apply right away. What exciting things are you working on currently, and where can we find you going forward?
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm available on social media. I'm actually right now on the process of building a YouTube channel from scratch, which is going to, it's going to basically explore more long-form content on luxury branding. So that's something that I'm excited to work on. I haven't told anyone yet, so this is the first time.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
actually
Thank you. I take that too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's called the Luxury Spectrum, and hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be having our first content. So these are longer form contents. It's not like my 3-minute Instagram reels. These are like 12 minutes long. It talks about luxury strategy. It talks about the different founders of, luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Rolex, like the scandals and all of that kind of stuff that's come out with it. So it's going to explore everything luxury. So that's something exciting I'm working on. And we're branding all kinds of things, from like nuts to
nuts, the food nuts,
food nuts, like premium nuts from Florida, like macadamias and all that.
That sounds nuts.
But they want something that's very bold and different. So and I'm always available on Instagram and TikTok, Kurien, Denny Kurien, and on LinkedIn. So hit me up.
Yeah.